The void of space around Proxima Centauri's third moon shimmered with the iridescent glow of the Varthak mining colony's shield systems. The massive installation, home to over 10,000 of the galaxy's most advanced mining specialists, hung like a jeweled pendant against the stark darkness. Its quantum-powered extraction beams pierced the moon's surface with surgical precision, drawing out rare elements crucial to faster-than-light travel. In the colony's central control chamber, Chief Administrator Corrett watched the efficiency readings with growing concern. His crystalline form pulsed with waves of anxiety as he studied the quantum core's output diagnostics. Something was wrong. The numbers didn't align with any simulation they'd ever run. "Status report," he demanded, his crystalline resonance betraying his unease. Senior Engineer Tellura's holographic form materialized beside him. "The quantum core's containment field is showing microscopic fluctuations, Chief Administrator. Our systems can't identify the cause." "Impossible," Corrett responded. "Our technology is infallible. Run a Level 4 diagnostic." The massive mining colony continued its operations, oblivious to the growing crisis at its heart. The Varthak prided themselves on having the most advanced technology in known space. Their quantum manipulation abilities had made them the undisputed leaders in resource extraction across 3 spiral arms of the galaxy. But pride, as humans would say, often comes before a fall. The first warning came as a subtle vibration, barely noticeable through the colony's inertial dampeners. Then alarms began to sound, not the expected warnings of their sophisticated systems, but the brutal, primitive backup klaxons installed during construction. "Multiple containment breaches detected." Tellura's voice carried an edge of panic now. "The quantum core is experiencing cascade failures across all backup systems, primary containment down to 60% and falling." Corrett's crystalline form flickered rapidly, a sign of intense distress. "Begin emergency shutdown procedures. Activate all safeguards." "Safeguards are not responding," Tellura reported. "The quantum fluctuations are increasing exponentially. This isn't supposed to be possible." The colony's vast computer networks churned through millions of calculations per second, searching for a solution. But for all their advanced technology, the Varthak had never anticipated this kind of failure. Their systems were built on the assumption of perfection, with no contingency for the impossible. "Time until critical failure?" Corrett asked, already dreading the answer. "At current deterioration rates, 48 hours, but the rate keeps accelerating." Tellura's holographic form flickered. "Chief Administrator, none of our simulations account for this level of quantum instability." Corrett made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. "Send out a general distress call. All channels, all frequencies." "Sir." Tellura's surprise was evident. The Varthak had never before admitted needing help from other species. "The nearest Varthak response fleet is 7 days away. The Galactic Council's emergency forces are scattered across 3 sectors." "Send it anyway," Corrett ordered. "We have 10,000 lives at stake. Pride cannot be our priority." The distress signal rippled out across space, bouncing between quantum relay stations. Responses began trickling in almost immediately, but they all carried the same message. Help would arrive too late. Then, from an unexpected vector, came a different response. "Sir," Tellura announced, her tone mixing confusion with hope, "I'm receiving a reply from the Sol system. Earth's emergency response fleet reports they can reach us in 18 hours. Earth. Corrett's crystalline structure pulsed with uncertainty, the primitive world that just achieved FTL travel. What could they possibly do to help? They say they have extensive experience with containing and managing catastrophic reactor failures, Tellura reported, scanning the incoming data. Their fleet is already mobilizing. She paused, double-checking the translation. They're calling it just another Tuesday. The data streaming in showed a fleet of ships that made Corrett's crystalline form dim with dismay. They were ugly, utilitarian vessels that looked more like orbital construction platforms than proper spacecraft. Many appeared to be retrofitted chemical tankers and what the humans called oil rigs, ancient technology from their fossil fuel era. These cannot be serious rescue vessels, Corrett protested. Their designs are practically prehistoric. Sir, Lara interrupted, containment field has dropped another 15%. At this rate, we won't survive long enough to wait for more sophisticated help. Corrett watched the efficiency readings continue their inexorable decline. Their perfect technology was failing them. Perhaps it was time to consider an imperfect solution. Send our acceptance, he ordered. And Lara, prepare our engineers to work with the humans. Tell them to keep an open mind. We're about to get a lesson in primitive ingenuity. As the response was transmitted, Corrett found himself wondering if perhaps the galaxy had underestimated these newcomers. After all, any species that could survive its own development with such crude technology must have developed other strengths to compensate. They were about to find out exactly what those strengths were. Commander Elena Santos stood on the bridge of the ERS Hyperion, studying the holographic display of the Varthak mining colony with the practiced eye of someone who had spent decades handling disasters on Earth. The massive structure reminded her of deep-sea oil platforms, albeit ones that sparkled like crystal and operated on principles that seemed to defy physics itself. "Status update," she called out, her voice carrying the calm authority that had seen her through countless crisis situations. "Quantum containment failing across multiple vectors," reported Dr. Sarah Chen, the fleet's chief physicist. "Their systems are sophisticated, but they're too rigid. No redundancy, no fallbacks. They built their safety protocols assuming nothing could ever go wrong." Santos allowed herself a grim smile. If there was one thing humans had learned over centuries of industrial development, it was that something could always go wrong. That's why they built backup systems for their backup systems. "Engineering, what are we looking at?" she asked, turning to Chief Engineer Marcus Rodriguez, a veteran of nuclear disaster response. Rodriguez gestured at the three-dimensional model floating between them. "Their quantum core is similar to our fusion reactors in principle, just operating at a much higher level. But they've never had to deal with containment failure because their technology was perfect." He made air quotes around the last word. No practical experience handling disasters means no proven emergency procedures. "Lucky for them, we've got nothing but practical experience," Santos responded. She keyed the comm system. "All ships, this is Commander Santos. Begin deployment sequence Alpha. Tanker ships form containment perimeter. Heavy response vessels move to position for emergency core shutdown. We're going to handle this just like 3 Mile Island, just with more dimensions to worry about." The human fleet moved with practiced precision. Converted chemical tankers, their holds now filled with experimental quantum dampening fluid, took up positions around the colony. Massive space-adapted oil rigs, their drilling equipment replaced with emergency containment systems, anchored themselves to the colony's outer hull. On the colony's bridge, Corrett watched in bewilderment as the human ships swarmed around his installation like worker insects. "What are they doing?" he asked Lara. "Their positioning makes no logical sense according to quantum theory. They say they're establishing containment zones based on something called worst-case scenario planning." Lara replied, studying the incoming data. "They're treating our quantum core like something they call a nuclear reactor." Before Corrett could respond, the bridge of his colony was suddenly filled with humans in environmental suits. Commander Santos led the team, her movements efficient and purposeful. "Chief Administrator," she greeted Corrett, her translator converting her words into crystalline resonances. "We need to begin emergency procedures immediately. Your quantum core is showing signs of imminent cascade failure. But our systems indicate we still have at least 20 hours before critical." Corrett began. "Your systems are calibrated for perfect operation," Santos interrupted politely but firmly. "They don't account for exponential failure curves in real-world conditions. We've seen this pattern before. When systems this complex start to fail, they fail fast." As if to emphasize her point, a new alarm began to sound. Tulara's holographic form flickered with distress. Containment field just dropped another 10%. The deterioration rate is accelerating. Just like Chernobyl, Rodriguez muttered. Chief Administrator, he addressed Corette. We need to begin implementing our containment procedures now. They're not elegant, they're not pretty, but they work. We've proven that the hard way. Corette's crystalline form pulsed with uncertainty. Everything about these humans seemed wrong. Their crude ships, their primitive technology, their reliance on mechanical backup systems rather than pure energy manipulation. But they moved with the confidence of those who had faced disaster before and lived to tell about it. Very well, he decided. What do you need from us? Santos gestured to her team, who began unpacking the equipment that looked absurdly simple compared to the colony's sophisticated systems. First, we need complete access to your core control systems. Dr. Chen will work with your engineers to interface our quantum dampening technology with your containment fields. Then we need to establish emergency protocols for evacuation, just in case. Evacuation. Corette's form flickered in alarm. Surely it won't come to that. Rule 1 of emergency response, Santos replied with a grim smile. Hope for the best, plan for the worst. Now, let's get to work. We've got 10,000 lives to save and a quantum core that's not going to wait for us to finish talking. As the humans began their work, Corette watched in fascination. Their method seemed chaotic, even primitive, by Varthak standards. But there was an underlying logic to their actions, a methodology born from facing and overcoming countless disasters. Perhaps, he reflected, there was something to be said for imperfection after all. It certainly seemed to breed resilience. The makeshift control center hummed with activity as humans and Varthak worked side by side, their differences forgotten in the face of impending disaster. Dr. Chen's hands flew across a hybrid interface where crystalline alien technology merged with ruggedized human emergency systems. Behind her, Tulara's holographic form flickered with rapid calculations. The quantum dampening field is holding at 60%, Chen reported, wiping sweat from her brow. But these readings don't make sense. The core's reaction is unlike anything in our simulations. Commander Santos studied the three-dimensional display where swirling patterns of energy twisted in ways that seemed to defy physics. Rodriguez, talk to me about containment. The chief engineer emerged from a maintenance tunnel, his environment suit covered in a crystalline residue. We've got the emergency coolant system integrated with their quantum stabilizers, but we're losing ground. Their technology is fighting our solutions. Corette's crystalline form pulsed with concern. Our systems are designed to reject unauthorized modifications. They're programmed to maintain optimal efficiency. That's the problem, Rodriguez replied, checking readings on his wrist display. Sometimes you need to run at less than optimal to prevent catastrophic failure, like throttling back an overheating engine. A sudden tremor ran through the colony, causing the humans to grab for support, while the Varthak's crystalline forms vibrated in resonance. New alarms joined the already cacophonous symphony of warnings. Containment breach in Sector 7. Tulara announced, her holographic form stretching with stress. The quantum field is becoming chaotic. Santos keyed her comm. All ships, tighten the containment perimeter. Activate emergency damping protocols. She turned to Corette. We need to shut down all non-essential systems. Every bit of power we can divert to containment helps. But that would reduce our efficiency by... Corette began. With all due respect, Santos interrupted. Efficiency won't matter if we're all dead. Sometimes survival means getting your hands dirty and accepting imperfect solutions. Before Corette could respond, a blinding flash lit up the control center. Where one of the quantum relays had been, there was now a swirling vortex of energy, its edges crackling with impossible colors. Microbreach, Chen shouted, her instruments going haywire. The quantum field is starting to collapse. Rodriguez was already moving, pulling equipment from his pack. We need to stabilize that breach now, or it'll cascade through the whole system. He looked at the Varthak engineers. I need your help. Our technology alone can't contain this, but neither can yours. We need both. Talara's holographic form wavered uncertainly. What you're suggesting, combining our quantum manipulation with your crude containment methods, it's never been done. It could make things worse. Story of human history. Rodriguez grinned behind his faceplate. Doing the impossible because we didn't know it couldn't be done. Now are you with us? The next few minutes were a blur of activity. Human engineers worked alongside Varthak specialists, combining technologies in ways neither species had imagined possible. Rodriguez's team set up portable containment generators, while Talara and her crew modified their quantum fields to work in harmony with the human devices. It's like a game of multidimensional Jenga, Chen muttered, her fingers dancing across control surfaces. Pull the wrong piece, and everything collapses. Kret watched in fascination as the humans directed the operation. Their methods seemed chaotic, even dangerous, but there was an undeniable logic to their madness. They adapted instantly to changing conditions, making split-second decisions based on experience rather than theory. Quantum field stabilizing. Talara reported, surprise evident in her tone. The human containment systems they're actually working. They're crude, but they're creating a resonance pattern that's dampening the cascade effect. Sometimes the simplest solutions are the best, Santos replied, allowing herself a small smile. Humanity learned that lesson the hard way, through centuries of trial and error. Another tremor shook the colony, stronger than before. Warning lights flashed across every display as the quantum core's containment field fluctuated wildly. We've got bigger problems, Rodriguez called out, checking his readings. The core's going critical. These are just the warning shots. We've got maybe an hour before total containment failure. Santos' expression hardened. Then we've got 1 hour to pull off our biggest miracle yet. She turned to Kret. We're going to need every scrap of power you can give us, and your people will have to trust us completely. No questioning our methods, no second-guessing our decisions. Can you do that? Kret's crystalline form pulsed with a rainbow of colors as he considered. Everything he knew about physics and engineering told him the humans' plans shouldn't work. But everything he'd seen in the past few hours told him that perhaps knowing something shouldn't work wasn't always the same as it actually not working. We trust you, he said finally. Tell us what you need. Santos nodded grimly. Good, because what we're about to try next goes against everything in both our engineering manuals. Rodriguez, prep the emergency core injection system. Dr. Chen, work with Talara to reconfigure their quantum field generators. We're going to attempt something that's either brilliant or suicidal. Probably both, Rodriguez quipped, already heading for the door. Just another day at the office. The colony's vast emergency bay had been transformed into what Rodriguez called a jerry-rigged masterpiece. Massive coolant pipes salvaged from the human ships snaked across the crystalline floor, connecting to hastily modified quantum stabilizers. Teams of humans and Varthak worked in perfect synchronization, their earlier mistrust forgotten in the face of necessity. Core temperature still rising. Chen reported from her station, where holographic displays merged with human tablet screens. Quantum field fluctuations are approaching critical levels. Santos studied the readouts, her expression grim. Rodriguez, status on the emergency injection system. Ready as it'll ever be, he replied, emerging from behind a massive tangle of equipment. But Commander, what we're about to try, it's never been tested. We're basically going to hit a quantum reactor with the mechanical equivalent of a cold shower. Talara's holographic form flickered anxiously. The calculations suggest a 97% chance of catastrophic failure if we attempt this. Then we'll work with the 3%, Santos replied firmly. Because if we do nothing, it's a 100% chance of failure. Sometimes you have to roll a hard 6. A violent tremor shook the colony, stronger than any before. Warning klaxons blared as new alerts flooded the displays. Containment field failing in sectors 3 through 7. Talara announced, her voice tight with stress. Quantum cascade accelerating. Time to roll that dice, Santos decided. All personnel, emergency positions. Rodriguez, begin injection sequence. Tilara, prepare to modify your quantum fields according to Dr. Chen's specifications. Corret's crystalline form pulsed with a mix of fear and fascination as he watched the humans work. Their plan violated every principle of quantum engineering he knew, yet they moved with absolute confidence. The massive injection system hummed to life, its crude but effective design a stark contrast to the elegant Varthak technology surrounding it. Coolant began flowing through the emergency pipes, guided by human intuition and alien precision. Injection commencing in 3, 2, 1. Rodriguez called out, "Brace for impact." The effect was immediate and violent. The colony shuddered as supercooled material met quantum fire. Emergency lights flashed as systems struggled to adapt to the unprecedented situation. Quantum field destabilizing. Tilara warned. The reaction is. She stopped, her holographic form expanding in surprise. Wait, something's happening. Chen's fingers flew across her controls. The coolant is creating a ripple effect in the quantum field. It's like throwing a stone into a pond, but in 11 dimensions at once. Can we control it? Santos demanded. Better, Chen replied, a note of excitement in her voice. We can use it. Tilara, if we modify your quantum stabilizers to match this resonance pattern. The Varthak engineer caught on immediately. We could create a dampening wave, using your crude physical intervention to guide our quantum manipulation. Less talking, more doing. Rodriguez shouted over the growing chaos. We've got maybe 2 minutes before this whole thing goes sideways. What followed was a symphony of cooperation. Human engineers guided the flow of coolant while Varthak technicians adjusted their quantum fields in perfect harmony. The impossible began to happen. The chaotic energy of the failing core started to stabilize, core temperature dropping. Chen reported, her voice tight with concentration. Quantum fluctuations decreasing. The dampening wave is working. But victory wasn't assured yet. A secondary explosion rocked the colony, sending equipment crashing to the floor. A massive power conduit ruptured, spraying superheated plasma across the emergency bay. Containment breach, Tilara called out. The feedback is... No, Rodriguez interrupted, already running toward the damaged section. We didn't come this far to fail now. He grabbed a portable containment unit, ignoring the warning lights on his suit that indicated dangerous radiation levels. Rodriguez, fall back, Santos ordered. That's a direct order. Sorry, Commander, he replied, his voice strained as he worked to seal the breach. Sometimes orders have to take a back seat to necessity. Besides, he grunted as he locked the containment unit in place. Someone's got to show our new friends that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our stubborn refusal to give up. Corret watched in amazement as other human engineers rushed to help their colleague, working together to reinforce the makeshift repair. Their environmental suits were starting to show signs of damage from the radiation, but they didn't hesitate. Core stabilization at 60%, Chen reported. 70%, 80%. The colony gave one final shudder, then gradually began to still. Warning alarms faded one by one until only the normal background hum of machinery remained. Core temperature nominal, Tilara announced, her holographic form radiating relief. Quantum field stabilized. The crisis is over. A cheer went up from both humans and Varthak. Santos allowed herself a small smile before turning to Rodriguez, who was being helped away from the damaged section by his team. That was either the bravest or stupidest thing I've ever seen, she told him. Probably both, he replied weakly. But hey, it worked. And I think our crystalline friends just learned an important lesson about the value of human improvisation. Corret approached the human team, his crystalline form glowing with what they had learned to recognize as deep respect. We had always believed that perfect technology was the answer to every problem, he said. Today we learned that sometimes the most powerful tool is the willingness to try the impossible. 2 weeks after the crisis, the Varthak mining colony gleamed in the starlight, its crystalline structure now bearing subtle modifications that reflected its brush with disaster. Where once pure alien technology had reigned, human emergency systems now stood integrated into the colony's architecture, a testament to the lessons learned. Commander Santos stood in the observation deck alongside Corette, watching as the last of the human emergency fleet prepared for departure. The massive converted oil rigs and tanker ships looked even more out of place against the elegant alien structure now that the crisis had passed, but no one could deny their effectiveness. The Galactic Council's investigation team arrived this morning, Corette said, his crystalline form shifting through colors that humans had learned to recognize as thoughtful. They seemed confused by our modifications to the colony systems. Santos smiled. Let me guess, they can't understand why you'd want to keep our primitive backup systems when you have access to advanced quantum technology. Precisely. Corette's form flickered with what might have been amusement. I told them that sometimes the most advanced solution isn't always the best solution. They're still processing that concept. In the distance, Dr. Chen and T. Lara were working together at a hybrid control station, putting the finishing touches on what they call the emergency response protocol. It was an unprecedented combination of human practical experience and Varthak theoretical knowledge. Your people have taught us something invaluable, Corette continued. We had become so reliant on perfect technology that we'd forgotten the importance of imperfect solutions, of redundancy, he paused, searching for the right word, of human ingenuity. And you've taught us a few things too, Santos replied, watching as human and Varthak engineers worked seamlessly together on the lower decks. Your quantum technology, combined with our practical experience, it's opening up possibilities neither of our species had imagined. Rodriguez, still recovering from radiation exposure, but insistent on overseeing the final installations, approached with a tablet in hand. Final systems check is complete, Commander. The emergency protocols are fully integrated, and we've trained their engineering teams on all the backup systems, including the hitting it with a wrench protocol. Santos asked with a raised eyebrow. Especially that one, Rodriguez grinned. Though they insist on calling it kinetic maintenance intervention, makes it sound more sophisticated. A soft chime interrupted their conversation. Tulara's holographic form appeared, accompanied by Dr. Chen. The new quantum core safeguards are online, Chen reported. We've successfully merged our containment techniques with their field generation technology. It's actually more stable than either system alone. The Galactic Council has requested complete documentation of these modifications, Tulara added, her form pulsing with what they'd learned was excitement. They believe this hybrid approach could revolutionize safety protocols across the galaxy. Corette's crystalline structure brightened. Perhaps this is the beginning of a new era of cooperation, one where we recognize that different approaches can complement each other rather than compete. That's what humanity has always done best, Santos reflected. We take ideas from everywhere, combine them in new ways, and somehow make them work. It's messy, it's not always elegant, but it gets results. Speaking of results, Rodriguez interjected, checking his tablet. We're receiving requests from other mining colonies. Apparently, word has spread about our unorthodox but effective methods. They want human emergency response teams to help upgrade their safety systems. Santos turned to Corette. Looks like our peoples are going to be working together a lot more closely in the future. Indeed, Corette agreed. The Galactic Council may not understand it yet, but I believe humanity has just proved itself an invaluable addition to the galactic community, not despite your primitive technology and unconventional methods, but because of them. As if to emphasize his point, a gentle vibration ran through the colony. The new hybrid systems automatically adjusted, human and alien technology working in perfect harmony to maintain stability. You know what the best part is? Rodriguez said, watching the systems respond. We've created something entirely new here. Not just the technology, but a way of thinking. A recognition that sometimes the best solution isn't the most advanced one. It's the one that works. Santos looked out at the stars, where more ships were appearing at the edge of the system. Other alien species coming to study what humans and Varthak had achieved together. That's always been humanity's greatest strength, she said. Not our technology, not our knowledge, but our ability to adapt, to improvise, to find solutions where others see only problems. And our willingness to share those solutions, Chen added, to work together, learn from each other, and build something better than either of us could create alone. Corret's form pulsed with bright colors. Perhaps that is why the universe brought our species together. The Varthak needed to learn that perfection isn't always the answer, and humanity needed the opportunity to show that experience and ingenuity are just as valuable as advanced technology. As the last human ships prepared to depart, Santos couldn't help but feel proud. They had come here to save lives, but they had achieved something far greater. They had bridged the gap between two very different approaches to problem solving, creating something new and valuable in the process. "Commander," Corret said formally, his crystalline form glowing with all the colors of respect, "the Varthak will not forget what humanity has taught us. When others speak of Earth as a primitive world, we will remind them that true advancement isn't measured by the sophistication of one's technology, but by the wisdom to know when simplicity and experience trump complexity and theory." Santos smiled. "And we'll remember that sometimes the best solutions come from combining the old with the new, the practical with the theoretical, the human with the alien. After all, that's what exploration is all about, not just discovering new worlds, but discovering new ways of thinking." As the human fleet departed, their ungainly ships a stark contrast to the crystalline beauty of the colony, they left behind more than just modified safety systems and emergency protocols. They had left a legacy of cooperation, a testament to the power of human ingenuity, and a reminder that in the vast expanse of space, the ability to adapt and work together might just be the most advanced technology of all.